Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing great. My name is Michael. I'm an animal rights activist from Canada, and on this channel we review tips and strategies in order to transition towards a vegan lifestyle. The holidays can be a very stressful season for a lot of people, even more so if you don't necessarily take part into traditions. So today I want to cover the topic of the holidays as a vegan. How do we deal with it? How do we manage the food situation or the drinks or even conversation that we have with our relatives or friends? So basically I want to offer you guidance with my experience on how I deal with it so it's as easy and smooth as possible. Let's start off by talking about wine. This was something that I didn't expect going into veganism, but it was how some wines are actually not vegan. The reason behind it is that in some vineyards they use egg white in the clarification process, and that's to remove some particles that are undesirable for the final product. More and more vineyards actually use a mechanical process in order to remove those particles, but it's still not all of them. You can use websites like barnivore.com or even apps like BeVeg, I think it's how it's pronounced. It's kind of like a library of wine, so you can go in there and look up if your favorite wine is actually vegan. But those can be a little bit clunky, so I prepared for you a list of some of my favorite wines that I like to pick up for the holidays. Another big issue for many vegans is how to manage food when it comes to going to parties just in general, but also during the holidays. It can be somewhat tricky because the people you'll meet there are basically, sometimes family or very close relatives. And if you're brand new vegan, they might not expect you, or maybe they don't know about your change. So I would say the first thing that is to be done is to, if you're going somewhere and somebody's hosting a party during the holidays, telling them in advance is probably the best way to avoid many of misunderstanding or confusion when it comes to the party itself. The way I typically do things is that I will bring my own food to the party. Sometimes they do potlucks, and that can be very, very good in many ways because people will be interested and they might want to try out vegan meals or vegan foods that you prepared. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that people sometimes are curious, and if everybody's eating the only vegan option you prepared, then you might be running out of food, right? So ideally you want to prepare bigger portions so you can ensure that you have some for yourself. Some of my favorite go-tos when it comes to big parties is like those big salads, whether it's like a pasta salad with tofu in it, or like broccoli salad or those kind of things. Those are very easy go-tos, very, very filling, not so difficult to prepare. And you can also prepare them quite in advance with big portions, so you have plenty of food to stay full for the entire party. Then on the other hand, if you decide to host a gathering during the holidays, then I would suggest that you maybe look at traditional recipes that you can veganize. For example, this year my menu will look like vegan meat pie, which will be made with meatless mince as well as potatoes. And also ragout de boulette, which is a French-Canadian dish. It's basically meatballs, but I will make it with lentils and some gravy on top. It's very, very tasty and very popular. So people are used to seeing those on the table, but now it will just be a vegan version of it. I would highly suggest, if possible, to prepare most of your things in advance. Try to batch prepare your food for many gatherings and freeze what you can. Then the final topic for this video is kind of how to handle conversation. Also, I invite you at this point, if you have any concerns or any questions, to write it down in the comment section. Also, if you like the video so far or it has been helpful, please consider giving it a like or subscribe to the channel for more information in regards to veganism. Most of the time when people figure out that you don't eat animal products, they will either make a joke out of it, show interest, or they will very quickly explain to you why they could never be vegan. when you're surrounded by many people who aren't vegan, it can be a little bit overwhelming as the conversation kind of sometimes, you know, it sparks on its own. You don't even need to mention it, but like they will see that you don't eat the same thing as everybody else, and it can easily get out of hand sometimes. I do have kind of three tips when it comes to this. Your best tools will always be to be educated as much as possible on the topic, as there might be a lot of questions, and sometimes it's, you know, people are legitimately concerned about your well-being, sometimes your health. You know, there's a lot of myths out there, and so it's important to be able to reassure your family that you're doing okay, but also to maybe give them more insight about why you went vegan. And it kind of goes in tandem with the second tip that I would give you, and it's to be vulnerable. I remember this one time, actually, there was a party, and some friends of my friends had their children at the party, and their child came up to me and he asked me why I was vegan. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible while staying true to what I believed in. And so what I said was that I don't eat animal products because I'm against animal cruelty, and if I don't need it to survive, therefore I will not consume it. So it was just like a very bare bone way to explain why I was doing it. And because it was so simple and from the heart, I feel like it had a very great impact on everybody that was listening to me answering the question. It can be scary to be vulnerable, but I think it's important that we realize that our input and what we believe in is very important. And it's important to own it, you know, to not be scared of it. So I know that myself, when I was younger, it was difficult for me to go into conflicts with others. I was very much afraid to kind of stand up for myself, but on the contrary, whenever I would speak up and explain why in a very calm and polite fashion, we don't need to yell in order to make others listen. I think that this actually helped me gain respect from others, but also maybe a better understanding of why I was doing the things that I was doing. So to recap, three things. So educate yourself as much as possible. Second, be vulnerable. That applies beyond veganism, just in life. I feel like by showing vulnerability, others will be, I think they will kind of show more compassion and empathy. And finally is to, even though you're vulnerable, to make sure you don't let fear of conflict take over your stand. Well, I really hope that this video has been helpful. This will be the last one for 2021. I will catch you in the next year. I wish you happy holidays, the best to you and your family. If you don't celebrate it, I wish you the best until the next video. Take good care, and bye-bye.